Well, in addition to the mayor's masterful political skills, are his equally adept skills at manipulating and controlling the media. Anyone who has ever interviewed the mayor can tell you something personal about the experience, but make no mistake about it, the mayor plays favorites and offers no apologies. Here's Boston Mayor Tom Menino shortly after he'd been sprung from rehab.
Mayor, one more question about...
you can quiet down over there, please.
Sure. I'll wait.
Wait for David. He's my pal.
Menino gave first crack at a question to Boston Herald beat reporter Dave Wedge because, as a fixture at City Hall, the mayor knows Wedge is on the ball. It's a trait he appreciates. That is, most of the time. Look at his body language with Channel 7's Hank Phillippe Ryan back in 2009. Doesn't seem too pleased, does he? You're a good sport.
Oh, yeah, good sport. Give me a break.
The last time Menino ran, the press was not cutting him any slack. One of the big stories was deleted emails at City Hall. But like an elephant, the mayor does not forget. He knows where his media pals hide.
How you feel? Everybody wants to know. How does the mayor feel?
I feel much better.
Channel 5's Susan Warnick, a trusted media friend, got the first interview with the mayor from his rehab center last fall. Once he was out, the mayor did another round with the veterans, from John Keller to this reporter. He took care of Channel 5's Janet Wu with an exclusive last night, then made sure to appear on Dan Ray's Nightside.
You have done a fabulous job as mayor.
As Boston Phoenix executive editor Peter Kadzis told Boston Public Radio yesterday, the mayor comes back for more when he knows he gets both a fair shot and something less than a stupid question.
I don't think there's anyone I've written more critically of than Mayor Menino, and no one who I've enjoyed a better relationship with. Because I'm always respectful. Menino, you see, he mastered the art of being underestimated, more or less snowed the daily press and the local TV stations, and he did it for 20 years.
Yep, I'd say that's about right. I love that line from Peter Kadzis. He snowed the press. I mean, I was even watching Andy Hiller last night. Gave him one of these unbelievable swan songs. And John Keller today, John Keller was supposed to be here tonight. He's doing an interview, an exclusive. So the mayor really very craftily meets out these interviews with people. I mean, he knows where his bread is buttered. He knows that the Boston Herald and the Boston Globe are the most important people, which is why he offered them those interviews on Wednesday afternoon. He took care of me last week. I was sort of lower on his rung, his ladder there than some of the people. Well, I mean, we don't have the kind of ratings at Channel 5 or whatever, but, he knows he's going to get a decent, thoughtful, long form, and for the most part, fairly friendly interview from me. So he has done that for years. And I have to say, I mean, I've had some of those hilarious discussions with him, with no names named about his, that person over, and he'll name somebody over at one of the local TV stations in particular. Is he an idiot or what? Did you want to know what he asked me? So, I mean, he's very aware of who's, who.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
like that. Good for him, because we're all veteran reporters, so I like the fact that he's noticing when people come totally unprepared and don't know what they're talking about, and he has to explain everything to them. Good for him. And the thing about the mayor, as we've all said a million times now, you can't not like the guy. So if you do have a chance to talk to him, he's just so genuine that you can be, if you're not careful, putty in his hands in a very short order.
Oh, that's absolutely right. I only had one long interview with him, and it was in the late 90s at City Hall. And you just come away completely charmed. And, during the years that I was at the Phoenix, and even after when I continued to do it, I think we gave him 4 Muzzle Awards for various acts he had taken that we thought were not in accord with freedom of speech. And you still don't lose your basic affection for the guy or for the fact that he did a good job for the city.
Hey, tell us the story you told us off camera, though. That you got the interview in what?
I was there with him for an hour. We recorded the interview because it was going to be a Q&A. And I said, why do people say this guy's inarticulate? This is great. I get back to the office. I start to transcribe it. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. He was a master at nonverbal communication. Yeah. And when you didn't have the visuals, you couldn't make any sense out of what he said half the time.
Yeah, I never had the opportunity to interview or to cover him in any way. I did cover City Hall in an old job in newspapers, and there is a certain type of big city mayor for whom mastery of the media is an absolute key part of the job. You don't get to do be in office for as long as he was without, first of all, knowing not to hold grudges for too long, because people are going to cycle through and there are going to be new people and new jobs, and you need to be able to maintain it and manage it for a long period of time. But I think from all the coverage that I watched over the last few years, that basic character really did come through, and he managed his image very well.
So in this town, with everything, from industry to politics, it's all about the people who have the history, can go back in the archive. So his relationship to those people is paramount. And I listened to the interview last night with Dan Ray. I was driving, and I'm thinking, oh, he's there with Dan Ray. And Dan Ray was giving him his props. The mayor is here in the studio. He took all these questions, and he was there a long time. He did a really long interview and interacted with all the people who called and everything. And it was pretty impressive, I have to say.
And he wouldn't have done that for anybody, is my point. Dan Ray.
It's at night,
It was after a long day. I'm sure Dan Ray put in the call, said, would you please? And, they look at their checklist and they say, well, if that's somebody who's really been honorable to us over the years, we've gotten a fair shake from Dan Ray, I'm going on the show.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm sure, I only heard a little bit of it, but I'm sure he got a lot of good call-ins, too.
And I heard from someone that, the folk around him were like, come on, enough already. You've talked to people all day. I wish you'd go home. And he said, no, I'm going to do this. So it's good.
Well, we were just watching a piece that I hope to have some use for down the line that somebody did for GBH. It was about 8 minutes long, but it was when he ran for city council for this first time. So what would that have been? 40 years ago? He was a very, very young man. And I can't wait to show some of that video with he was exactly the same. Exactly the same articulation level. He walked the same way. He stroked his chin the same way. It's really priceless. Haven't had a chance to use that yet, but we will.